Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening whenever you are listening or watching this. This is another episode of Four Doors and GT4's. I am Stu, and joining me once again is the one and only Aaron Pfeiffer. Aaron, good to see you, and good to see that you have some lights on inside once again.
Yes, good to be seen, good to have internet, good to have power, lights. Yes, been a interesting week here in the upstate of South Carolina.
Indeed, it has. Indeed, it has. And we're in for another interesting weekend of racing once again. As well, I guess it's not this weekend. It is in a week and a half ish, less than a week and a half.
Week in a
As
day,
we're,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I always forget, these race weekends where we have the Pilot Challenge race and all the Support Series races. A little bit earlier in the weekend. I guess this happens. What is it? Rolex, Sebring, and Teed are the only three races, I think.
Yep, yep, these
Yeah.
3 weekends. Yep.
So a Friday race for you guys. The other support series are going to be rocking Thursday and Friday races. So there's going to be lots to keep your eyes out for in just about a week's time at Road Atlanta. But before we dive into Road Atlanta and the infamous, I guess it's the Petit Le Mans weekend. So the infamous Petit Le Mans weekend. Let's rewind a little bit and talk a bit about Indy. So Indy, it's been a couple weeks now, but we can definitely touch on the goings on in that race. Of course, a big weekend for championship implications in both of the classes, but not a particular weekend that you want to look back on, or that you're looking back on with very many positive thoughts.
Yeah, we can. Well, I mean, Friday was great, and Saturday morning was good for my car, not for the team. We ended up rolling off the grid third. So yeah, our best starting spot of the year, and things were looking good there. But yeah, we'll get into the race in a minute and how it came undone. But yeah, I mean, overall, like a very warm weekend in Indy. I mean, it was almost 90 at race time. So different than what we had experienced the year past, but still, I mean, really exceptional job, I think, by IMSA and the Speedway of getting that race promoted. I mean, as soon as you landed in the airport, it was everywhere you looked, and the crowd showed it. I mean, we had a great crowd on Saturday. I watched the race on Sunday when I was home, and in the rain, they had a really great crowd there Sunday at the track. So I think the growth of the weekend is something IMSA is probably going to be pretty excited with, and Indy's going to be pretty excited with. And yeah, I mean, it's like I said before, it's an awesome place to go. It was a great homecoming weekend for us at Brian Hurt Autosport. With the shop right down the street, we had a big get together Friday night, and then got to get the 1-2 win for a couple of our sister cars there at Indy. So that was great. But yeah, I mean, we can jump into the race if you want and talk
Let
about how exciting it was for 3 minutes for me.
Yeah, let's talk about the race here. I know, like I said, it's been a couple of weeks now, but I know there was a couple of big moments in the race, and one of them unfortunately involved your car, the number 76 entry. You guys were coming into this race. You were right there in the championship hunt. You needed a couple of good results for sure in the last couple of races of the season, but you were definitely right there. And yeah, talk us through sort of those opening laps of the race and what ended up unfolding for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk really quickly about what happened Saturday morning. So, we qualify at 8 a.m. Saturday morning, and one of our sister cars, the 77 car, ends up just a few minutes into qualifying having a pretty traumatic engine failure, which resulted in a fire in the engine compartment as well. And so that red flagged the session till the end of the session. We qualified P4 because we had gotten a lap in. Preston was on a much faster push lap at that point, but so were a lot of other cars, obviously. And then our other sister cars hadn't even gotten a respective time in yet. So it really kind of jumbled up the order for the start of the race. in TCR, you have some cars you're frankly just not used to seeing up there in the front, including our car. The Goo car was in third. The Alpha was right behind us in fifth. So a lot of the AM drivers were up there while the pro guys have been waiting, holding a lap, and not gotten a fast lap in. So big kudos to the 77 team. I mean, the wiring harness was melted on the car when it came back off the rollback, and I'm going, how are these guys gonna get this car fixed? And they got it fixed. They actually pushed it through Gasoline Alley onto false grid like 3 minutes before the 10-minute warning. So I mean, an exceptional job, guys. I mean, they literally did a fire up like while it was rolling to the grid, kind of thing, and they didn't know if the car was going to work when it went out for the pace lap. So that was great for them. But yeah, you have our three sister cars all starting in the back, and then you had the Hart car, which they had their new Honda for the first time there. They had qualified P3. They got DQ'd for ride height infraction after qualifying tech, so that bumped us up to third. So anyway, yeah, you got a very chaotic start where you have what turned out to be I believe it was a turbo issue on the Montreal Motorsport Group car, so they can't get to power correctly on the initial start, and so it ends up looking like JDC is jumping the start. We're trying to stay behind the column with those guys, and so it ends up we lose a couple spots there, and then you get into the very first turn, and the Racer's Edge Honda has a failure, and I believe they threw a belt that ripped like the wiring harness apart or something, and they don't even get past to turn two. So we go yellow, then quick yellow. They tow that car away. You're back to racing, and it was really shocking how much door banging and beating on each other was going on in that first lap. We're watching it from the box, and we're watching a lot of contact between TCRs, and GS. You have the Goo car make contact with the TGM car of Ted Giovannis, and then through that, we're stuck behind the Goo car. We had gone back to third. I mean, we must have been in 5 different positions across that one lap. And so, it seems like things are settling in. And then you see the 93 car is really having an issue and is slow on the front straight. Everybody's passing them on the left. At that point, there's a door of the Mustang on the start-finish line also that had fallen off. And we're going, okay, it's about to go yellow again. And then we go into turn one, and the road shagger Audi. I mean, he just messed up. There's no other way to put it. It was a very bad miss of missing the braking zone by several hundred feet, and he passed 4 cars and careened into us and snapped the axle, and the day's done. I mean, it's not only the day's done, but the championship's done. So yeah, it was pretty gut-wrenching for us. I mean, you're riding around in P3 like 7 minutes into a race, a 2-hour race, and somebody's driving like that. It's pretty upsetting. I mean, there's no other way to put it. So it took our car out, it took their car out. Obviously the race goes full course yellow, and I'm talking to Preston on the radio. He says he's fine and has a couple of expletives to say, and then he gets out of the car. And if you want the behind the scenes of what happens when your car wrecks and you're on the pit box. So me and my she's almost like the team PR. She does everything. Emily, we race back to the infield care center to go get Preston.
So that's
care centers are kind of crazy because some of them are a little like these little dinky things. And you go to Indy and it's like a full level 1 trauma center in there. And, they're taking us back to where Preston is. And I'm like, this building's really long. And we walked past a full-blown optometrist office in there. I was like, can I get my eyes checked while I'm in here? I need my contacts. And so we go in there for a second. They say, hey, you can't come out. You can't get him yet, but he's okay. So I leave Emily there. I walk back to the garage, and our car has just gotten unloaded off the rollback. And, I'd already seen that Goo was having issues, and Honda, the Montreal Motorsports Group car, is having issues. I know Roadshagger's out. I don't know if we're in front or behind them in the running order. So first thing I say to Sean, one of my mechanics and the lead fabricator for the team, I was like, "Can we get back out for the race?" And he looks up at me and goes, "No." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So at that point, it's over.
Yeah.
And then I at that point I had turned the corner of the car and seen the car, and yeah, it was upper and lower arms both broken, axles broken. It might have pushed into the gearbox. The gearbox probably damaged at that point. Obviously, bodywork damaged. So in a 2-hour race, you can't get it back out, and plus you're up against drive time too. So really, you only have 30 minutes to get it back out, because you'd have to get both your drivers 40 minutes each in, or else you're going to get DQ'd and moved to the back anyway. So yeah, the race is done. At that point, my 3 crew guys are trying to make it so the car can roll, so you can put it on the truck. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's your number one thing. And so I talked to Preston for a minute, and then I went back to the pit box where Dennis still was, and switched my radios and started listening to our other cars' radios, and just trying to stay out of the way and help if I could in any way. And that was kind of the end of the day for us. So yeah, it stinks. I mean, obviously it's a pro-am sport. There's different skill levels there, but you can just go read the comments on the when IMSA reposted it on Instagram and Facebook. I mean, a lot of comments about they've seen better driving in Forza and so on. So I'll let comments like that speak for what I think about it. But that's racing. It's just super disappointing for us. Obviously, I mean, we had hopes of battling for the championship, and I talked about it last race how much we wanted, no matter what, to have a top 3 finish at the end. And it's almost impossible for us to finish anywhere other than 4th or 5th after this. So that's motorsports. It's cruel. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But yeah, so that's my race. Then we can talk about the rest of the race now.
There was
that's the first 8 minutes of the race.
I guess a question that I have, like going through your mind when you saw the damage initially on the car, were there any concerns that there was, frame damage to like it was a pretty big hit, but was there ever any concerns about that?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, Preston, the first thing he says that's the biggest hit I've ever taken in a race car. And you go back and look at it, and he hits us over 100 kph. So I mean, it's a big shot. So yeah, we could see the frame and see that it was okay, but there's definitely concern that it had um, pushed the drive shaft into the gearbox basically and ruined the gearbox, which still can be fixed, but financially becomes a
Yeah.
much larger thing when you have somebody that's footing the bill for all of it at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of dollar signs adding up. I mean, good thing is, like, we got to save some tires because we didn't really use those tires, so we can use them in Atlanta. So we saved a little budget on tires. But yeah, for sure, that's what you're thinking, because I mean, there is no backup car or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, you're looking at dollar signs too, for sure. I mean, it was an expensive shot, and you know that same driver that took us out tubbed one of my cars last year at a different race. So yeah, it's very expensive person to race around.
Very expensive indeed. Now, with all of that said, the car is ready to go and good to go
Yeah,
for Atlanta.
so I posted it today. Yes, the car looking all pretty. The amazing team at Brian Herta has built it put Humpty Dumpty back together again for one more show for this year. So yes, Sean and Wade, my 2 mechanics that are always on the car, did amazing work on it. I'm sure they got a lot of help from the other guys in the garage as well. But yeah, it's back together. It's ready to go, and only thing to do is to go try to win the last one at this point for us.
Good to hear. Good to hear. You get an extra bit of motivation to go out and win that last one.
Yeah, but so, if you look at that, I did end up being a spectator of most of the race. I felt like I got a pretty good view of it. It ends up becoming um, a race of two strategies in TCR for sure on the back half. But you fast forward from our yellow ending, and you have a nice little green flag run there. You see the Hyundais have shuffled around to first, second, third, fourth. So you have Victor's car running first, then you have our other three cars running second, third, fourth, and then I believe JDC's coming back through the field because they had that drive through at the beginning of the race that they got to serve right before our yellow came out, and then you almost have an exact carbon copy of what happened to us happened to Victor's car in the lead in TCR. This time it's a GS car. It's the not Robin Lindell, uh, Frank Depew.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, plows right into Morgan, almost like carbon copy of our wreck. And that unfolds the yellow, which kind of dictated how the rest of the race would go. I will say that during our yellow, it was under 15 minutes into the start of the race, but since it was the second full course yellow, it was a full yellow. And a few cars in TCR and a few cars in GS did take advantage of that first yellow to take some fuel and fill back up. But really, all that didn't matter too much because it really all played into this pit cycle, 40 something minutes into the race. For drive time is almost perfect time for a yellow. I mean, it's like
That's true.
42 minutes into the race or something like that.
That is true.
And
Because
so,
40 minutes is minimum drive time, right?
yeah.
For
And
both? Is that for both classes?
yeah, for both.
Yes.
And you had kind of something interesting happening where uh, you had different tire strategies in GS. When I went back, I didn't really pay attention to it so much in the race, but when I was re-listening to the race today, like the Turner cars didn't take any tires during that yellow flag stop. So a couple different tire strategies broke out, and then you had more tire strategies happening when the GS cars would make their final stops with guys taking left sides only and things like that. But it shuffles out, and RS1 had been leading the race before all this happens, if I'm remembering correct. Or their RS1's right up there at the front, and you're going, okay, they're kind of in a pretty good spot here. And then all the pit sequence shuffles out, and then you have a couple people that didn't pit in GS, and but that battle would kind of be on, and we can talk about that in a second. Then TCR, everybody stopped. Obviously, everybody changed tires, and our cars got out first, second, the 98 and the 33, and they would know they would. Oh, I'm sorry, 98 gets out first. 33 is further back, but the 17 and the 5 are
17, yeah.
mixed in there as well, and the 77. So you kind of have that top 5 battle there that would play out. And then from then on, I mean, how many races have we had like this year? This year, where once you get past this chaotic first hour, you have just this big long green flag run to the end with a fuel mileage race, and like the pro drivers just really showing their stuff. I mean,
Yep.
it happened yet again. Yeah, I mean, you guys saw what Denny can do in a fuel mileage race at Mid Ohio. I mean, he was like just even more upset at that point when he's watching how the race plays out. He's like, this could have played right into our hands as a race that is kind of into our strong suit as well.
Yep.
So yeah, that's so in TCR you have the two strategies play out, right? So you have kind of what you've starting to really is a pattern of what some of these cars are doing, right? Where they're acting like they're in a fuel save, and then right at the 30-minute mark, to be safe from the yellow, they pit for fuel. So you had the 77 car do that, you have the 5 car do that, and you have the 17 do that. And then it's a battle of two strategies at that point. But if you were looking at the timing map, like I'm kind of surprised, and maybe they just couldn't make it on fuel or whatever. I saw the BOP change this week, and the Audi and the Alpha both got added fuel, but I'm surprised one of them didn't keep pressing us, the Hyundais, a little more, because at that point we have like the 33 and the 98 have like a minute lead, so you can fuel save a massive fuel save if you want to at that point, if you're those cars, and that's what they did. Con- they would continue to fuel safe to the very end. Mason did a great job, and Robert. The only reason Robert wasn't closer to Mason at the restart was really stretched out
Yeah.
for some reason. They weren't packed up. I was listening to Robert's radio, and he was like surprised that they went green. That's how far back he was, and he just never really could make up that gap. But Mason had whatever a 12-second gap and just worked it the whole rest of the way to the finish, and that's how it would wrap up. And you'd have JDC be the first car on the other strategy to come in there. So another fuel mileage race in TCR. It's nice to see the Herta cars get to get another one of those fuel mileage wins under their belt. I thought the strategy was played really well by those guys. But championship wise, it was perfectly fine day if you're at the 17 car. Their one concern is the 33 car. They finished one spot behind them, and we'll talk about points in a minute. But if you're JDC, considering you had a drive through at the beginning, and you stopped, and when they stopped, they were like sixth at one point. A really good drive by them, and just what you need to do to win a championship really is what they did that on Saturday at Indy.
Yeah, you're spot on there. A strong run by JDC, kind of one of those runs that that's all that they would be looking for out of this race is you don't need to do anything crazy. You just need to have another solid run and maintain that gap in the championship standings. And even though they're finishing behind their championship rival in the 33, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And then in GT4, I mean, I thought that was a pretty fun little race there at the end too. Everyone finally in GT4, there wasn't one guy that stretched fuel all the way, and
there wasn't a Porsche that ran out of gas this time.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's no Porsche that caused the yellow run out of gas. Although people were running out of gas at the very end. I think the Hart car did, and maybe somebody else. But
yeah, the Hart was Well, the Hart was a few laps down, so
so I don't know why they're running out of gas. That's odd anyway, but I can't say anything about running out of gas. So in that one, it was really a battle on pit lane. I mean, that's what it came down to, is who had the quick stops, who put in the right amount of fuel. I saw people taking tires. Was tires the right call or not at the end? You had people taking just left side tires and so on. But yeah, at the end of the day, it ends up being Carbon's first win of the year, and I think is that their first win ever in Pilot Challenge? I thought that's
that
what
I do not know.
I thought that's what I heard when re-listening the race today. I was kind of surprised by that, honestly. But a win for the BMW at Indy.
Yeah, the BMW it's been, I think last year it was really strong, and then this year hasn't had quite the same results as they did last year. But a nice big win for Carbon and Jeff Westphal and Stephen McAleer. Coming across the finish line in second, just 3.7 seconds behind them is the Windward Racing Mercedes, and then rounding out the podium, you have the another BMW, number 95 Turner Motorsports entry. So actually a close fight there at the end for the final spot on the GS podium with the championship leading Aston Martin, the number 46.
And how about Turner being last year's defending champ? No wins on the year. I don't think you would have ever guessed that for both of their cars. So neither one of them have a win going into Petit Le Mans weekend. That's kind of surprising, honestly.
Yeah, you're right. It is. It's
but I think in the championship, they still have a car in third place in the championship right now. So they've
you're right.
The 95 has just like snuck its way with consistent finishes. Back into I mean, they're mathematically eliminated, but they still are in a okay position in third. Still some pressure from behind for fourth and fifth.
This was their second podium of the season, which is surprising for them. They had a second place at Watkins Glen, and then
Yep.
this was just their second podium of the season. So yeah, hasn't been an exceptionally strong one for BMW, but consistent finishes are gonna keep you around in the championship hunt, even if it's not for that top step. But still a good result for them. And yeah, see if Turner Motorsports can pick up a win in the GS class, the season-ending race in just over a week.
Yep. So congrats to the Carbon guys. My old tire specialist Carl's on their car now as their tire guy, and yeah, it's happy to see them get a win. Of course, happy to see Mason and Mark get their first win of the year. So that 3 out of the 4 Herta cars now with a win on the year. So that's good. And you know, we'll transition into championship stuff here. There's a reason we delayed this later than we normally do. We wanted to see the entry list so we could lay out the championship picture for going in the last round. But the one championship out of the 4 that is decided is the Manufacturers Championship in TCR, which Hyundai has secured yet again. Andrew's in the chat here. What year in a row is that, Andrew, for Hyundai TCR Championships? 6. But yeah, so that's, like I said many times, that's our number 1 goal. So we're very happy to get that, the 98 car, putting the icing on the cake there. And I believe 5 different Hyundais have contributed to that championship run for the manufacturers. So it would be our car, the 33, the 98, Starcom, and Victor's car. So 5 different Hyundais helped deliver that championship, including 2 customer teams. So pretty cool.
That is pretty cool indeed. Sometimes, you look at for the one that immediately comes to my mind is in the GTD class in the WeatherTech Championship. You look at Mercedes, who also they locked up the manufacturers championship there. But you look at the Windward Racing, and they've kind of carried Mercedes in that respect. But it is cool to see the in the TCR class. You guys have, there's a lot of Hyundais that are on the grid every race, and it's cool to see so many of them contribute to that. So so that is cool to see, and nice that you don't have to think about the manufacturers championship heading into the last round of the season. Is there going to be
Well, I don't have to think about the drivers' championship going in the last race of the season either. So
that is true. That is true. Will you guys have a celebration sort of after the fact for the manufacturers championship, or was
I mean, it's my first year on the team, but from what I'm told, we always do something at the end of the year after Petit Le Mans. So yeah, I believe we'll have a get together Friday night, and everybody doesn't fly out till later Saturday morning, so we can all get to spend one last night together. I mean, that's the thing about racing, is even if all the cars come back and all the drivers come back, people change. People move teams, people move on. So yeah, it's kind of it's always bittersweet at Petit Le Mans, because it's the last time you'll for sure have that entire group together probably ever again on the same team. So yeah, we'll have something for sure after that.
awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the other championships then. And
Yeah.
there were some implications coming out of this. We can let's start with the GS class here. There were championship implications that came from the Indy race, as RS1 and their Porsche GT4 machine of Trent Hinman and Stephen McAleer. I thought I said Stephen McAleer won, didn't I? It was Sean McAllister with Carbon that
No, I
that
wasn't
won.
gonna call. I wasn't gonna call you on
I saw S and then MC and immediately thought of Stephen McAleer. So actually MCA. So actually even further than that. I'm going to stop now. But yes, it was Sean McAllister that won in GS. But Stephen McAleer in the RS1 Porsche and teammate Trent Hinman, they finished 9th in the GS class, which maybe, in a 20 car field isn't all that bad, but it is not great for your championship picture when your main opponent, who you're going up against in the championship, goes out and finishes 4th. So championship implications of that are that the 46 Team TGM Aston Martin that finished 4th at Indy They now have a 110-point lead over the RS1 Porsche heading into the season finale. So you mentioned that we wanted to wait until after the entry grid was released, and now we know that there are going to be 21 cars on the grid for the Petit Le Mans round. It's called officially the Fox Factory 120 for the
Mm-hmm.
Michelin Pilot Challenge. But it's not 110 points is not going to be an easy hill to climb for that number 28 Porsche, even though they have the tiebreaker in the championship.
So, I mean, just what a response from TGM. I mean, just, two back-to-back bad weekends for them after they've just been on fire to start the season. And, they're on the back foot. It looks like RS1's gonna, you know, have the midseason come from behind, and then just a great finish for those guys and making sure they're finishing in front of the car that they have to finish in front of, and having a 110-point cushion going in the last race is not like having a 110-point cushion in TCR. I mean, it's very vulnerable in a 20-car field for sure. And as you can see, I mean, they can have a finish of, I mean, let's see, where'd Rebel Rock get? Rebel Rock got 110 points at Indy. So, I mean, you can have still a 240-point swing in the championship for sure. But,
Yep.
I mean, you got to feel a lot better than what they had going in last weekend. So even with an RS1 win, a sixth place or better would secure the championship for TGM, and then you can kind of work the math backwards from there. But basically, if you're them, you need to finish within 4-5 spots of RS1, and you're going to win the championship. So, you can play it a little conservative, maybe, but as you saw last year, and we'll talk about in TCR in a second, I mean, anything can happen in the championship
Oh,
in the
yeah.
last round, including, braking, going to the start line. Look, I mean, think back all the way back to Daytona, and you look at JDC almost didn't make the race, right? They
Yep.
fly in apart from Mexico, pick it up at the airport in Orlando, drive it 75 minutes there, push the car out to the grid, end up winning that race. Okay, if you don't start that race, you don't get any points, period. You don't get last
Yep.
place points, you get none. You get zero.
And there's no qualifying points in the Pilot Challenge either.
Yeah.
So it's a goose egg for your entire weekend.
So they would be 350 points in the hole regardless, I would have won the race, whatever, not that I'm thinking about that. No, but yeah, I mean, so anything like that could happen. You could have something crazy like that happen too. So it's definitely not over. I mean, you can think you think Chip Ganassi ever thinks about his cars wrecking each other, to end Petit Le
Oh,
Mans 2 years ago? You think Wayne Taylor at the end. I mean, it's just crazy stuff happens there. But yeah, I thought that was an awesome response from TGM. A team I want to talk about is Vanderster. Golly, they have gone the same fate that we have gone in the 76 car here in these last couple of races, just right there in second place. On in the points, and then just back to back bad things happening to them, a wreck and then a broken car, and now they're all the way back in fifth. They're mathematically eliminated. They're almost 400 points behind. But yeah, I mean, I feel bad for those guys. You got Windward there in fourth. I mean, you talk about a bounce back. I mean, they have, if you look at the points, I don't know if you're looking at points too, but
I
they
am.
got
Yeah.
they got 90 points at Sebring and 80 points at CTMP from
Yeah.
finishing dead last in both those races, and are still here fourth place in the championship. I think that's
Yep.
pretty impressive as well. So yeah, Turner pretty much. No, Turner is out of it. Yeah, I mean, as long as TGM takes the start, Turner can't win. So
Yeah.
it's a two-car battle in that championship for sure.
Yeah. A two-horse race. And you talked about it there. It is only a top six finish for the 46 Aston Martin gives them the championship. But I mean, yeah, we've seen so many wild things happen here. I didn't look at sort of our caution trends from previous years here, but
I can tell you,
I
I don't even have to look at them. I've been there the
it's
last 3 years. There's definitely cautions. I mean, yeah, you
yeah.
normally have. I would say the average has to be at least three over the last 3 years. I mean, there's been some big ones too. I mean, that huge
Yeah.
Turner wreck coming out of 12 a couple of years ago. Yeah, there's always some stuff going on there at Petite. So yeah,
It,
that nothing is secure in that championship for sure. That's I mean, yeah, you feel okay about that, but it'll be very nervous. It'll
uh,
be a nervous 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm gonna include the second you try to get the car to start to make sure it takes the green. I mean, yeah, all of that. I mean, just imagine how that just all that intensity levels up. I mean, every time I say fire the car, I like sit there for a second and wait to hear them say that the car fired fine. Like, anything can happen. I mean, we've seen it time and time again.
and also hopefully at the end of the race this year. I mean, last year at the end of the race, we didn't even immediately know who the GS champion was.
Yes,
I recall it was there was the last minute under full course yellow.
Hall,
Coming to the checkered
still,
flag under full course yellow.
Hall of Fame petty move. I still think
Yeah.
it's hilarious. So yes, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's how tight it
It
can get.
it
You
is
can go
not. Yeah.
you, you can go into the tiebreakers. Yeah, I was with Reese 2 years ago at Petite, and we crossed the finish line, and they tell us we haven't won the Endurance Cup because we got disqualified for drive time infraction, and then I'm redoing the math, and I've never been with a team before. It's my first weekend with the team, and I'm like, we still won the championship, and they even gave Vassar Sullivan the Endurance Cup trophy on the podium, and then like an hour and a half later, they go, "Oops, we did our math wrong. Actually, here's your trophy, Reese." So yeah,
Oh
it
man.
can even extend after the TV turns off.
Yeah, it's yeah, we've definitely seen that a fair amount this year. Thankfully not that much in the pilot challenge. I don't think we've had any crazy results changes in the weeks after a race. But
Yeah, we had a
has
couple cars DQ'd after Sebring. I think it was the last time we had anything really
okay.
big post race happen. Yeah,
That Sebring feels like forever ago at this point.
Sebring
8 months.
was forever. Sebring was a
Well,
long time ago.
7
Yes,
months, I guess. Yeah.
yeah,
So we're almost there. We're almost at the end of the season, and of course we also do have a manufacturers championship going on in the GS class. It is also pretty much a it's a two horse race. I don't think BMW is making up 210 points here, but Aston Martin does lead the way there by 70 points over Porsche. So it is not over, but
you should.
is there a Toyota on the grid?
Yes. So
Okay. So we're gonna have
Hattori is
7 manufacturers.
Hattori is back. Yes, another car that ruined one of my races this year. They are back, so they must have gotten a new car. So that would mean you have 110 points at play in the
Yep.
championship. So yeah, that one could still swing. Although if you think about it, the majority of the cars in the field are made up of Astons, Porsches. Anyway, I mean, those are the two that have the most representation, I believe.
Yeah,
So
I
it
think we
would,
have 5 Porsches, including a
yeah,
new one,
yeah, I saw that.
Gold
So yeah,
Wrist.
it'd be kind of hard to see both of them messing that up and BMW jumping up there. Oh no, they can't even do
Well,
it. Yeah,
BMW's not.
yeah,
Yeah, it would,
yeah. So yeah, it's going to be one of those two. Um, yeah. So yeah, I mean that one could still definitely swing though. I mean
it
that's one that's up for grabs.
it could. There are 5 Porsches, and then I think I counted 5 or 6 Aston Martins. I
Yeah.
think actually 6 if you're including the Evo,
Yep.
the
Yeah.
Evo for Rebel Rock. So, yeah, a lot. Yeah, you're talking about over half the grid is going to be Porsches or Aston Martins. So, it's probably going to be a challenge. There's going to have to be a lot that goes Porsche's way in order for them to overtake Aston Martin in the standings. But crazier things have happened. It is petites after all. So well, we saw at Indy. It's funny how the same manufacturers find themselves huddled around each other. There was the 3 wide with the Ferraris in the rain, and they all made contact, and one went
yeah.
spinning off.
Yeah,
It's funny how that works out. So
yeah, that was Triarci's second time getting punted off by somebody else that day.
yep, it
Yeah,
sure was. Moving on from the GS championship, where you don't need to touch on the Bronze Cup because that has long been decided.
yeah.
In TCR, it is. I mean, we've alluded to it a little bit, but it is still, of course, number 17, Unitronic JDC, Miller Motorsports, Hyundai that leads there with, or Audi, pardon me, that leads there with 1,750 points, 150 points back, and the only car with a mathematical shot at catching them, unless if the 17 doesn't start the race, is the number 33 Brian Herta Autosports. Hyundai, it's based on the entry list that we have, 12 entries, which we were talking about. You called that exact number, I believe, a couple of weeks ago.
Called it down to which car it would be. Yeah,
You did, you did.
I know I'm not the big Twitter user, but I tweeted out just as proof. Yes.
You have the receipts. You have the receipts. So that means that there's a potential max swing in points of 150 points. It is a 140 point gap between the 17 and the 33 in the championship. Or wait, am I getting that
It
wrong?
was a 160 point swing with a 150 point gap. Yeah.
Yep, you're right. I was off by my 10. So essentially, the 33 has a chance. They do not own the tiebreaker on the 17, and they cannot own the tiebreaker even with a win here. So essentially, the 33 has to win, and the 17 has to finish last, or the 17 not start the race. So it's a tall order. But like we've been saying, it's petite. Anything can happen.
Well, I mean, you can't tell me that the JDC guys aren't thinking about where they could have picked. I mean, imagine if they don't break at CTMP, then this championship's already secured. They just need to start the race, and then they could go park the car if they wanted to. You got to be thinking about it. After you had what happened to them last year at Petite happen, you got to be running worst case scenarios until you watch someone wreck out of the race or break down. Yeah. I mean, because obviously we all remember what happened to them last year. If you don't, they go to the green flag on the pole. They're in a tight battle with the 33. It's basically winner take all, and they snap the axle at the green flag as they go to accelerate. The entire field passes them, and their championship, this crazy run they tried to make to come back in the championship, ends 10 seconds into the race. So yeah, I'm sure that's on their mind. But look, it's they've had a great season. There's no other way to put it. Obviously, working for Brian Herta, I'd love to see us get another championship. But a very worthy adversary in the Unitronic JDC team. And well, as Andrew says, I mean, he's thinking about Daytona's engine for the 33 car. Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking about Road America. I mean, it's the kind of things that just like these little things add up. And in TCR, it's just so hard to get big point chunks back with our car count right now. Hopefully we can talk. We'll probably talk more next time about the future of TCR and what we see for next season and some stuff coming, and hopefully car counts coming higher. But yeah, when you've been doing what we've been doing basically since mid-Ohio, really, like we've kind of been bouncing around the 12, 13, 14 mark, all the way down to 10 to 11. So it's hard to get huge swings. So it's going to be a tough battle for us, but obviously we're going to try to do everything we can on the 33 car to take the fight to them and put the pressure on them for sure. And like I said, the 17 car would just, I don't know, they'd probably be willing to do about anything to see somebody break down on the first lap and have a stress-free 2 hours.
Yeah, or have somebody, not make the green flag, something along those
Yeah,
lines.
we've
That
seen that happen this year. We saw Goo not even get to the green flag at CTMP. Yeah.
Yep, and it is a little bit far out to really be able to see what the weather could be like for this round, but we've road Atlanta this time of year. There's anything can happen weather-wise. So,
Right now, it looks like a perfect day of 73 and sunny in North Georgia, but yes, anything can change on the
well,
8-day out forecast here in the South.
now
Um,
that we've put that into existence, it's definitely not going to be a
well, I
beautiful.
would say I'm just so excited. I want a rain race. We haven't had one so long, but I just don't want to ride around in the darn safety car for 2 hours, which seems to be
That's true.
what we do now.
That
I,
seems to
I
be
won't
it.
I won't start my safety car rain soapbox right now, but yeah.
That
Um,
is true. That is true.
So yeah, we've laid out those 3 championships, and then like we said, Hyundai has secured the manufacturers championship in TCR. So still a lot to tune in for. But yeah, maybe not quite the battle build up in TCR like we had last year going into the last race with I forget what the gap was, but it was very small between 33 and 17. But there they are in 1-2 yet again, obviously showing consistency out of those guys. And the 98s back into third, which is where they finished in the championship last year as well. For us, we're tied for fourth with the Montreal Motorsports Group. So, of course, we're going to try to finish in front of those guys and have a 2-3-4 finish for Herta, or maybe let me not mess it up there. Maybe a 1-3-4 finish for Herta. Let me not jinx ourselves early there. But yeah, so we for sure for pride would like to finish in front of those guys. I think mathematically we'd have to like finish first or second, and the 98 would have to finish 11th or 12th for us to get back into third. So yeah, might just be the dream that has to wait till next season for that.
The dream that has to wait until next season. Well, you can still dream of hoisting the winners trophy at
Absolutely.
Road Atlanta. So there's still stuff to play for there.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the race. I mean, this is my home race. I live about 80 minutes from the track. I first went to Road Atlanta for the second ever ALMS race, which would be the spring race in '99. So saw the Riley and Scott with the Judd F1
Oh
engine
man.
win that race, and saw the Porsche 911 GT1 under the Champion Racing livery, and that car made me fall in love with sports car racing, and literally watched it break down right in front of me in the S's, and then it sat at the bottom of turn 5 between the wall and the track for the rest of the race, because this was a different time and they didn't get the cars off
Yeah.
the track back then, and that's where we were sitting, and I sat there, and yeah, maybe that's foreshadowing of my racing career. That's the car I fell in love with. But yeah, so and then I came to Petit Le Mans every year with my stepdad growing up for 12 years or something in a row. So yeah, I mean it's exciting weekend for us. Yeah, I mean there's a bunch of teams obviously that want to go finish on a strong note. I believe we've had in TCR we have 6 different cars that have won this year, I believe. It was 33, 98, 76, 17, 5, and 93. So, you got 6 different cars that have won this year. So, obviously, although we saw JDC, go crazy at the start there, it's not, it hasn't been that way the rest of the year. So, you got some really solid cars that's still looking for their first win of the year. Some really solid cars still looking for the first podium of the year. Yeah, everybody's going to want to try to end the season on a high note. I mean, I have ended Petit Le Mans on sour notes before, and it
Long off
sucks. I mean,
season.
yeah, I mean, it's not the longest off season. It's not the NFL off season, but
It's true.
it's still. I mean, to leave there and be like, well, that sucked, and then go, well, it's 3 months before we go to the Roar. Yeah, it sucks. So yeah, I mean, I want to go get the win there. That's literally where I've dreamed of getting a win since I was a kid. So yeah, we're excited about it. Dennis, Preston, myself, we're fully focused on it. It's a track Preston has a ton of laps on, a lot like VIR, so we feel good about that. Denny was passing somebody for the lead 2 years ago there and got run off into the grass coming out 12, and we had a puncture and lost the race off of that. So yeah, it's one of those ones that we want to check the box on. For us, if we get the podium, we would go 50% podium streak on the year, so 5 for 10. So that would be a big accomplishment for us. So yeah,
Yeah.
we still have some goals that we want to accomplish, and like I said, it's a fun weekend to spend with everybody. It's for us, it's a little annoyingly spaced out if you talk about the time frame. I mean,
Yeah.
one practice Wednesday, then we practice early in the morning on Thursday, and then we don't qualify till 6:30 at night for some reason. So it literally got like 9 hours in between sessions. Sounds like a great time for a four doors and GT4 meetup by the truck. I saw a couple people posting about the race.
It's
Um,
true.
Keep your eyes out on social. Maybe we'll have a little meetup there,
Yeah.
and then we got the race on Friday, and then the award banquet is Friday night for the uh, um, pilot challenge, and then yeah, then you got to get the trucks out of there because everybody's got to park there for Petit Le Mans on Saturday. So yeah, it should be a good one. It's my favorite track. I know you're coming to the track for the first time, so
Damn.
I can give you we can go over the visitor's guide after we go through some questions here. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I-
I'm really looking forward to it. My wife and daughters will come down for the race, so yeah, I'm quite excited for it, and it's my favorite one of the year.
Awesome. Something that I wanted to ask you about, you know, Petite or sorry, Road Atlanta is, you know, going into a weekend like this, what are you being extra mindful of, or what are the track characteristics that you have to be really mindful of? We've talked a lot about the last few, especially through the summer months, tracks that are hard on tires. The summer heat. Petite, it can be the petite weekend. It can be a little bit different depending on the weather that neck of the woods decides to give us. So, what are you thinking about when you're crafting a setup and thinking about what to expect heading into this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, luckily for us, it's like the only track or well, one of two tracks is that we've done a test at. So our very first time with Herta was a Michelin tire test where Andrew was actually my car chief that weekend. And so Dennis and Preston got a lot of laps here last year. It was freezing cold when we did that test. We literally had to wait for the track to warm up before we could even go out. That's how cold it was. We couldn't get the cars to start. That's how cold it was. But yeah, so we do have a lot of laps on the track, although it was our first time ever with the car. So like,
Yeah.
but so we have an idea of what we want in the setup. Obviously, you need a car that is secure through the twisty bits, right? So you got to go up the hill and all the way down the hill, and you're turning the steering wheel left and right the entire time. But then you have turn 12, which is probably the biggest like pucker factor corner on the IMSA schedule. You're following like an 8-story building down while turning, at the same time, and there's a wall on either side of you as you come down the hill. So, you have to have a car that the drivers feel comfortable with turning. But then, of course, you have a very, very long straightaway coming out of 7 going into 10A and 10B. So, there's a compromise in the setup there. But yeah, it's a driver comfort track to me. They have to feel secure in the car, feel like the rear end's going to stay with them, feel like it's going to turn when they want it to really get the lap time out of them. Yeah, maybe I could take a little wing out of it or make a couple adjustments to make it a little faster on the straight. To me, that's always going to be a wash compared to the time you'd gain going up and down the from 2 to 5 which only sounds like 3 turns. It's like 12 turns. I don't know
Yeah.
why they're only marked from 2 to 5. Yeah. So, but then, yeah, obviously you have to have a car that can pass somebody coming out 7, going into 10, because that's your biggest chance, and that's one of the biggest braking zones on the circuit. Period. I mean, Dennis used to use the handbrake in the old Audi going into that turn. That's how much we'd be braking.
Oh man, that's and one of the other unique things that you guys have this weekend is, I believe I saw this on the notice board, is the way that the pit stalls are this weekend. There's actually two pit lanes here at Road Atlanta. There's
Yep,
the infield side, which is going to house the WeatherTech Championship, and you guys
correct.
are not going to be sort of tagging along with them on the infield side. You guys are going to be on sort of the outfield, the outside of the track pit lane, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so Don Panaz buys the track in 1997 and redoes the track and builds that inside the infield paddock, you could call it the WeatherTech paddock. But that's almost the only thing it gets used for is WeatherTech and Ferrari Challenge, and I think the motorcycles when they come there.
Hmm.
But everything else always uses the old paddock, which is the paddock on the outside of the front straight. So yeah, we're in what you would call the support paddock for this weekend, but honestly, it's the main paddock that gets used most of the time at the track. A little tough to get to for a spectator, but there's a bridge that you can cross right over, the Michelin bridge, right over start finish line. Literally dumps you right into the middle of the paddock, right next to the tower. So yeah, different setup for us. So we've been using Vassar Sullivan's box all
Yep.
year long, other than Mid Ohio where they weren't there. And so yeah, we go back to our own setup for this race, and all the support uh, paddocks are over there. So it's us and VP, and I think the Porsches are there. Um,
Yep.
somebody else there. I might be forgetting somebody.
Mazda.
Mazda, so there. So we all use that one, and then WeatherTech has their own. And it's actually, when I was looking at the pit boxes, I think it's better for us. I believe we have 22-foot boxes. I believe WeatherTech only has 20-foot boxes. So
Okay.
it's very tight. When I was there last year with Triarsu, we actually had the very first pit box all the way at pit in, which normally kind of stinks, but for there was pretty good because we had a clean exit out of the box every time, or a clean exit, or clean entrance into the box, I should
Yep.
say, every time. So yeah, it's very, very compact over there. It's very Daytona-esque as far as how tight the pit boxes are for the WeatherTech guys. 54 cars in that paddock.
Yeah.
There's trailers. You'll see it when you go over there. They got trailers parked everywhere in that paddock. It's always laid out a different way every year, I swear. But yeah, I mean they're up against the fence. They're up against the hill. So yeah, we're over there in the support paddock. So yeah, it'll be a little bit different setup for us as far as what we have on pit lane. Not using a big WeatherTech pit box, but a more simpler
Yeah.
setup for us.
There we go. There we go. Let's look at some questions. I think we have had a couple non-support series related questions that maybe we can touch on at the very end, but a few support or just Road Atlanta related questions. We did have Travis said here, when you were talking about the optometrist in Indy. I know someone that could use an eye exam. It was
Yeah,
I
yeah,
gotta chuckle out of that.
yeah.
Um, what do we have here? So we did have Robert. It doesn't have the question right here, but Robert did ask us a question on X, on the yeah, a comment on X for us, and it's not necessarily about the support classes, but about Petit Le Mans in general. What is a top thing that you wouldn't miss as a first time Petit Le Mans attendee? I have a 4-day ticket and tenting it up.
Oh well, okay, so he's doing it right. He's going tent camping. Wednesday's gonna be slow. There's not a lot going on Wednesday, and then Friday night it ends kind of early. I think there's a support race or something after qualifying, maybe. But yeah, it ends pretty early on Friday because all the support series, besides Porsche Cup, who keeps going, all have their awards banquet that night, so they all have to tear down their
Oh,
paddocks
okay.
and then go do their awards banquet if they're drivers and some senior level crew. So, and then the trucks have to get out of there because people park over there for the race. But for sure, I wouldn't miss night practice at Petit is awesome. For sure. I
That's on
believe
Thursday.
Thursday. It's 7:30 to 9 or something like that. As somebody who's been to Petit Le Mans a number of times as a fan before I was in the paddock, I loved to go to turn 6 and 7. So you're all the way at the end of the track, but you literally are maybe 15 feet from the cars. I mean, you're so close to them. You'll see how banked 6 is. You'll see how flat 7 is. If you're over there at twilight or at night, you see the brake rotors glowing as they come into the braking zone for 6. You see the exhaust glowing as they rip down the back straight down for 7. Obviously, Spectator Hill, which is on the basically on the exit of turn 5. You can watch them literally wind from the top of hill to 3 all the way down over the hill going towards 6. And there's a huge TV right there. So if you want to follow the race really well, that's a great place to watch. 10A and 10B is very similar in the fact there's a huge TV set up. If you sit on the 10B side, on the outside side of the track, there's stadium seating built into the hillsides there. So that's a great place to watch. Watching them rip over through 3 and seeing how much curb cars grab and how sideways they're going to get is pretty cool. And then, my thing as a kid, what I always wanted to do was I never really saw the end of the race because we would always rush to the podium and get up close to the podium a few minutes before, and then you could look over and watch the checkered flag waving and the fireworks are going off. Then they pull the cars right in there and you could do the podium. I believe I read that they're doing the podium on the front straight at the end of the race this year, and so it might be a little different. Might be a little different this year, but that sounds cool as well. But be prepared to walk. It's very hilly. Don't wear your good shoes. It's very Georgia red clay, so your shoes are gonna get dirty. You're gonna be tired. If you have a golf cart, it's a great way to get around. If you're walking, it's okay too. But just know that there's basically 2 sections of the track. If you're walking, there's 3, 10 over towards the paddock, and then the other side, and there's a huge hill in between 2 of them that is very steep. So not one that you want to walk probably 10 times a day. There's a fan zone right there in the middle between turns 3 and turn 10 that has packed with stuff. Go see us at the Hyundai hospitality booth. Autograph signings will be there Thursday from all of our drivers. So yeah, there's a ton of good stuff there. You got 2 different paddocks to go through. Obviously, come over and see us in the support paddock. That's the one thing I don't love about Road Atlanta is it feels like we don't get as much paddock traffic because you got to go across the bridge to kind of come get to us. But let's definitely come check out both paddocks. Just go walk around. It's a great spectator track. You can get anywhere except the outside of 1 to 8. Basically, you can't be on the outside of the track there, but you can go anywhere on the inside of the track, and you can see 12 from both sides, 10 from both sides, 1 from both sides. So yeah, lots of things to go see.
Lots, and yeah, you're right. The podium celebrations and the champion celebrations after Petit are going to be on the Tower pit lane stage.
So they'll be actually on the podium that we use. Interesting. Okay. So I guess, they say stage. I'm guessing they're putting an actual stage on our pit lane after we're gone. So yeah, probably even easier to see stuff then. Very, very fun track to go to though. Stu's first time coming, so you gotta go find Stu. That's probably number 1 on your list, obviously.
Yes, that's true. Just look for the Canadian walking around.
Yeah,
we stick out, right?
the guy crying about Faf.
Hey, easy now, easy. There's no need to cry yet. No need to cry yet.
Somebody's gonna drive for him.
Yes, they're gonna find somebody, right? They're gonna find somebody. I did my part today. I tweeted at Tim Hortons, so to pick up the sponsorship. Yeah. GT Rain said it best here. No Faf slander.
Crowd
Wow.
strike by Faf Racing.
Yeah, crowd strike by Faf. Maybe Red Bull Faf.
Oh, there
Let's
you go.
make it
Yeah.
happen. We had a couple before we get to some of the non-support series related questions that a few people had. I just did want to touch on the other races that are going to be the other support series races that are going to be taking place
Sure.
this weekend. We are going to have the VP Sports Car Challenge that's present once
Championship
again.
rounds.
Pardon me?
All championship rounds for all these guys except Porsche, right?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. And I believe I'm just pulling up the championship points for the VP Sports Car Challenge because I was not prepared with those. I believe their last round was Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. If I'm
Is it?
It was or was it they
They
were at
were not
VIR. They were at
VIR, were
VIR.
they? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they were at VIR. So I know there in the on the LMP3 side of things, it is not even close for Stephen Agakani, who is leading the championship there. He's pretty well got that wrapped up as long as he starts one of the two rounds on the weekend. Jagger Jones has only lost one race that he has competed in the championship, but he also missed the first two rounds of the season. So that has put him behind the eight ball. Meanwhile, in the GSX class, it is also not a close battle as Luca Mars has not quite had as much success as Jagger Jones, but he has won a lot of the rounds and carries. It's
Wow,
almost a 500 point,
he
almost
has
a
a big
500
lead.
point lead.
Yeah.
It's not really close there in the VP Sports Car Challenge, but I do recall distinctly that this round last year was a very exciting one. One of the rounds here, I know that there was Jagger, I believe, was leading in the closing laps and came to a stop up at the top of just before you go downhill through the S's. I don't know, was that turn 3 technically
Mm-hmm.
or something like that? So
Yeah.
it
You'll learn.
look. And anytime you get to hear the LMP3s on track, I'm not going to complain about. So they are going to be there and they compete on Thursday at 1:05. And then also first thing in the morning on Friday. So a couple of races there to round out their season. We also have the Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup, which man, I do love
Your
to watch.
favorite.
We do have a very close championship battle there, especially considering there's two rounds to go in the championship. It is Jeremy Fletcher that leads Jared Thomas by just 60 points there. Gresham Wagner also just 110 points out, and 130 points out is Nate Cicero. So still lots to be had there in the Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup. And I mean, we've had some pretty intense championship rounds or championship conclusions here for them over the past couple of seasons. So you do not want to miss those races. They will be racing on Thursday at 2:10 Eastern time, and also on Friday morning at 9:45 a.m. Eastern time. So you have LMP3s to get you out of bed on Friday morning, and then follow that up by the scream of the angry bees.
There's no sleeping in the campgrounds.
No, there is not. No, there is not. Although it's not as early as it was at Watkins Glen. I distinctly remember there was like an 8 o'clock Mustang Challenge practice one
That's
morning.
when we qualify. Normally every week for the
Was
last
it?
5 weeks has been 8 a.m. Yeah. I don't know if we did it at Watkins, but we definitely did it at Indy.
Yeah, well, Watkins, you had the different schedule at
Yeah, I think
Watkins,
we
didn't you?
qualified that.
The day before.
I don't know. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
We got a podium.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I remember we talked about the
Yeah, we
qualifying
talked
format.
about having a goofy schedule. Yeah, I didn't
Uh,
realize. Yeah, MX-5 still pretty close there at the top. Just
yeah, it is.
70 points with 2 full races to get in. That's definitely up for grabs there.
Yeah, there's still a lot to play for. And then we have the Porsche Carrera Cup North America. There's a number of championships going on within that. The
They
pro
still have
ranks.
25 more rounds to go before the end of the year.
Oh yeah, that's true. They still have Coda after this. So,
Yeah.
the championship isn't being decided there. I mean, the championship is essentially decided in Pro. It is very close in Pro Am between three drivers are separated by just 5 points. This is
Wow.
not the same scoring
Yeah, they
system
have
though.
that different point schedules.
It's basically F1 scoring.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's much more similar to that. And then in the Masters class, it's not really close either. So there is still a good championship fight there in the Pro Am class to watch out for. And then of course we have the Michelin Pilot Challenge that we've talked about a lot. The Porsche Carrera Cup races go at 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, and then also at 10:50 a.m. on Friday morning. So,
So it really is done pretty early on Friday then, because
yeah,
we race at 12:45, and then WeatherTech qualifies, and then so yeah,
and then it's
Friday
done.
night's your time to get some sleep if you're because I believe is there a morning warm up for WeatherTech, or is it just a hard shift lap? I believe there's a
Uh,
morning warm up.
I think there is.
Yeah, we had one last year because I remember we didn't even do it because the track was wet.
Oh
Half
yeah,
of
I
us
guess
didn't even do it.
if the track is wet, it doesn't make sense to. Um, I'll see if there's a morning warm up, but I thought there might have been some other stuff that was going on later in the day on Friday. Sometimes they usually have like the car corrals and stuff, right?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you can
Yeah.
see the Corvette guys
Yeah,
going.
that is all that there is. You have a
When
Porsche, BMW. There's a Hyundai car corral. So,
now that's
um,
the car corral you should come see, obviously. Bring me your Hyundai, let me drive it.
yeah.
We never talked about Road America's car corral, where it was just you could pay $20. It didn't matter what car you had,
Wait,
and
what?
you could go out and do a lap in their car corral, and it was before our race.
This
And
year?
yes, there was like a Pontiac Aztec. I mean, they were like the craziest cars. There's like guys with their Corvettes and stuff, but then there's just total like it's just like a Ford Focuses and stuff. I mean, it was just wild. Yeah, it was the only one I've seen like that all year. And my Jake, my car chief, he lives an hour from the track. He's like, yeah, you can just pay $20 and you get to do this one lap. And yeah,
I
it
wish
was
I had known that. I would have done it.
yeah, it was like the craziest collection.
Man, I'm gonna have to. Now I'm definitely gonna have to go back to Road America next year, and
Yeah,
I gotta do that. Yeah, there's no crazy car corral like that. Although there is something that's ominously named Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta on track activity, hot track from 5:45 until 7. So,
that's just media shooting cars.
well, we can hope that it's something interesting at least.
I
We
did.
did.
I did it there last year, and I was waving to people while I was in the camera car. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I always
uh,
hope that when we see something like that on the schedule, it's like what they had at Watkins Glen last year. I don't know if you remember the electric Porsche that they had,
oh
and
yeah,
they would
yeah,
rip
yeah.
that out
That was
for
cool.
they'd
Yeah,
rip that out for like 15 minutes, and we're like, what is that? What is that
yeah.
sound?
We were on pit lane getting set up, and I watched it go by a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, hot track on is normally car to car photo shoots, and then normally a lot of
Okay.
teams get still photos at the end of the year too with their whole team there
Makes sense.
somewhere at Road Atlanta, either on the track or in the paddock.
I think Travis says that you're gonna sign the dash. Sign the
Travis, it was engine covers I've been signing this year. I haven't signed any dashes yet. I'll happily sign your dash though, but it's engine covers that I've been signing this year.
You see, I want it to be I want you to sign a windshield and have it be like the Fig Newton sticker
Oh yeah,
in
there you go.
Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
Big
Oh,
old signature
yeah.
across the
Uh,
dash. We uh GT Rain has not only stepped in to defend Faf at this point tonight, but he also has a question here. The last IMSA race for the V8 LMP3s. I assume that they're switching to new V6 cars next year. I don't know if I've seen confirmation of that.
No way you see more V6s than you see V8s next year. Everyone
Yeah.
has the V8 cars. You might see a couple of guys with the new cars, but the V8s will still be out there in force. I would guess you would see way more V8s than you see the new cars. I don't even know how easy it would be to get one of those new cars into the
Yeah.
US. I mean, I'm sure uh, I'm sure all the what's the series that runs them in Europe besides
The Le Mans
not
Cup.
yeah, Le Mans Cup. Not, I mean, I know they run in European Le Mans series. Going back to Silverstone, that's a good move. They should have done that a long time ago. But yeah, it won't be the end for sure. Hell, you still see the old Audi get out there in TCR, and it's like from 2017 at this point. Some of these cars you can't kill. I
That's
did hear, you know, what I saw at Indy that you might find interesting, Stu.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
I saw a Cupra TCR
Yes.
for the first time. Laid eyes on it. Yeah, being distributed by New German Performance, who distributes the Audi TCRs as well. So a rumor has it that some people were testing it at Road Atlanta the Monday after Indy. So maybe we will see the Cupra in 2025 and IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge.
Yeah, we can talk about that more in the off season.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
off
Just a
season. That's
little
it's
teaser
a
for
little tidbit.
what could be
Yeah.
in the future of TCR here. Yes.
Yeah. While you were teasing that, I was looking to see if uh, I'm kind of expecting, or something that would be more likely for the LMP3s is, they did it with the Porsche Carrera Cup a few years ago. Is the new cars, they ran like different subclasses and I wonder if they'd consider doing something like that. But I think what you mentioned is probably more. It's probably going to be pretty difficult to find
Yeah, I would think with
to
their
get a hold
car
of one of those
count
ones.
in year one, you would just see one class for sure.
Yeah,
And I think
and then maybe you could
They
beat.
could just BOP them into the same
Yeah.
class regardless. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that's probably more likely. But I was looking on the team portal to see if the registration was open, to see if there was any hints that we could get into that. And of course, nothing for the
Well,
VP
you're
Sports Car Challenge is posted.
deep into the IMSO website over there. Yeah.
Oh yes, yes, deep down the rabbit hole, deep down the rabbit hole. Um, Yeah, Cupra in IMSA would be very interesting. VW supposedly bring the brand stateside. Yeah, it is
I
announced
got
that.
an even more interesting brand for you next time, GT Rain. So yeah, Cupra, yes, I think pretty likely, but there's another one out there that is floating around that's interesting as well. So
Interesting.
yeah,
We'll
we'll save it.
we'll save it. We'll save
We'll
it.
save it for after my race winning discussion of the Fox Factory 120 next Friday, 12:45 Eastern on Peacock
Yeah, we
or
need it.
whatever, however you watch it in Canada and everywhere else, YouTube
I
or IMSA
y-
TV.
Bingo. You nailed it. You nailed
Yeah.
it. You got it down. Do we want to? Okay, let's rapid fire a couple of questions from earlier, because we don't want to leave these questions unanswered. The people showed
I,
up and they asked
I
their nonsense.
saw my boy Zombie Gut Kills back. Like we can't leave him hanging.
Yeah, we can't leave Zombie Get
He's
Killed.
a
But first,
regular. Him and
uh,
Travis.
true. First, we have Calico thoughts on the Inception racing car change. I mean,
Well,
Ferrari's been strong this year, so
how about
maybe an
last year?
eye towards the future.
How about last year? You couldn't even see a Ferrari unless you came to an endurance race, and
Yeah,
now there was like 7 of them
yeah,
last round.
all going 3 wide.
We've seen next year's WeatherTech entry list have several of them already,
Yeah,
including Triarci today announcing they're going to have a second car that will be a full season car. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of Ferrari 296s. I think you
Dragon Speed,
probably
I
are.
think, as well.
Yeah, Dragon Speed full season.
Yeah,
They're doing GTD Pro this weekend actually.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think boy, it doesn't look. You know what an interesting life that McLaren GT3 car has lived, because it was almost dead, and Inception was keeping it alive, and then it
You
gets into
can't bring
wet.
out the Evo.
then it gets to Evo, then it's in WEC, and you're like, oh, well, it's going to make a resurgent. And then FAF is supposedly this factory-backed car by them, and then all of a sudden we might not even have FAF next year, which would be a shame.
Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, I think what else would be a shame is that we waited an hour and 20 minutes into the show before we lost Aaron. That's we thought we were in the clear here. But to kind of finish Aaron's thought, yeah, it would be a real shame to not have FAF or potentially not a McLaren at all on the grid next year. Of course, there's a lot that has to be there. Could we see another team potentially step up with a McLaren? I would not rule it out because there are definitely a couple kicking around, and it does seem like McLaren does have some. McLaren clearly has some interest in a North American market if they're starting up the Artura Challenge or the Artura Cup, I believe it's called in SRO. So yeah, we'll see if McLaren, what sort of comes of that. We actually talked East Rain Man. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that necessarily properly, but we did talk about we talked a little bit about some things to go and check out at Road America. Of course, if you're going to be there, Road Atlanta. This is what happens when you have two roads, two tracks with the name Road in it on the calendar. It confuses me easily, just to confuse Canadian here, as we do have Aaron coming back.
Like it was bound to happen. I haven't had power for a week. I just got the internet back. I'm surprised it made it this long. I'm sorry.
I know that's exactly what I was saying too. That's what I was saying tue. I wanted to wait until we got to your boy here, Zombie Gut Kill. Thoughts of the rumors of AO Racing turning Rexy into a Mustang potentially?
Well, something seems up with all the shuffling of their drivers and, their Porsche drivers and so on. And then obviously you see their entry list come out and they are not listing their manufacturer, which seems to indicate that it's going to somewhere. I have not heard what it's going to be. But yeah, sure. I have heard that there is a very big demand for the Mustang GT3. So yeah, it could be, who knows? I mean, I don't know where it could go. I mean, is there going to be another Corvette next year? We haven't seen another Corvette be announced yet. There's could be a number of things, but kind of crazy considering all the marketing and branding they've put in with Porsche this year. The Hot Wheels cars with Porsche this year, but it all comes down to money and support at the end of the day in sports car racing. So. It'd be interesting to see what happens with those guys. I'm sure it'll be a vibrant, bold announcement when we get it. I mean, I could see those teeth in the Mustang, right? Like I could see it working.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It would be a little growly. I have seen. I mean, not that the team would confirm anything in social media comments. I have seen a lot. I have seen some comments that shut that thought down very quickly. So I mean, you never really know. But the one thing that I will say is that Seb Prio stepped back from AO in the middle of the season to focus more on Multimatic activities, and Multimatic is of course the ones responsible for that Ford Mustang GT3. So where there's smoke, there's a little bit of fire, maybe.
Maybe so. Yeah, I don't know yet, but that will be interesting to see. There's a lot of cars already announced in WeatherTech for next year.
Yes, it's adding up quickly.
It's kind of going like, who are we gonna not see next year at this point? Like the grid's looking very, very full all of a sudden. Like who's not going to be in here? Yeah, of course you can make this announcement. It doesn't mean you're going to be there, right? I mean,
that's true. You can show up for the Rolex and then, oh yeah, we're winding back to just two races we're going to enter this year.
Yeah, like doesn't Kenny Habul and Sun Energy One say every year that they're going to do the whole Endurance Cup and then they do one race? So yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean everything's set in stone still. There's still a lot of financial things that could happen. We
Yep.
saw Vanderster announce that they're going
Yeah.
to run the Endurance Cup in the GT3 Aston. So we've talked about before about stepping up from pilot being a stepping stone to WeatherTech. There's a team right there. Although, if you look at Rory's father's past, obviously he ran the LMP 675 class long time ago in ALMS. But yeah, there's a team going back up. I believe they have secured that Aston Martin already. It is an Evo one, I believe, and it is from a certain SRO team. So yeah.
A certain SRO team that dropped the Aston Martins in the
I
middle of
didn't
the
say
season,
that.
maybe?
You said that. I just said it came from an SRO team. You're just inferring
Well,
things.
that really narrows it down right there.
Somebody happened to have one that didn't need one this week. The interesting WeatherTech is looking full already. So awesome. I mean, just golly, what a strong paddock we have right now. It's awesome to see.
It would be, and I think I've heard that we might maybe see some more interesting entries on the way. So I think you're gonna want to keep a very close eye on the IMSA social medias to as
Yeah.
because I'm sure once Petit is wrapped up, we're gonna see more of those pouring
Well,
in.
last year we had the entire entry list at Petit.
The full season entry list.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. And we had the state of the sport last year at Petit. Then we had basically the state of sport all the way back up at Sebring. So I don't know if I didn't read the schedule close enough to see if they had any time allotted for something like that or not.
No, I don't think so.
A message from John or anything, but it's already. So many people are already working on 2025 stuff. I mean, everybody is really, crew members, teams, car manufacturers, everybody's already, unless you're really in the championship, a lot of them are already one step looking at 2025.
Yep, that they are. That they are. Well, I think that's about it.
I've had a lot of people ask about Road Atlanta. Like I said, we do have a little more time in the schedule than I normally do. So Stu and I will get together. Maybe we'll do a little meetup in front of the Herta truck, maybe on Thursday or something like that. We'll put it on the social if we can figure out a time that we can do that. But of course, you're welcome to come by the Herta truck and come see me. I'm the bald guy that's standing around the 76 car. So pretty easy to find. But yeah, we'll try to do something cool for next week if we can. Stu's first time at Road Atlanta. We got to show him around. He didn't rent a golf cart, or else I would have showed him around in style. But I guess we can walk around.
My Canadian money doesn't go very far in the States.
Yeah,
so.
that'd be like $4,000 Canadian to rent.
Oh yeah, it'd be so much money. I might as well drive the golf cart down in that case.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Actually, I'm driving a Volkswagen Golf down, so I mean that's close enough, right? That works.
Well, you're almost in a TCR.
Almost. We got one last minute, just beat the buzzer question here from Coupons Dude. Coupons Dude, you got to send us some coupons, man. We need some good ones. Will Andy Lally stay with Magnus Racing 2025 with the program cutting back? Yeah, of course, with the Vanderster Aston being confirmed for the Michelin Endurance Cup races next year. That also coincided with some news that Magnus Racing will cut back from the full season of Michelin Endurance Cup competition to just competing at the Rolex 24, as John Potter has some business that he needs to focus on next year. GT Rain says coupons for that damn golf cart. But coupons, dude, it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen with everything there with Magnus Racing. Hopefully that we see them, miss the majority of the 2025 season, but they're right back in the thick of it in 2026. But it's probably a little bit too early to say.
I had to look up. I just Googled it real fast. Andy Lally's 49. So at 50,
okay.
Aren't you automatically demoted
Oh,
down one
true.
FIA rating when you turn 50?
I
So I
think
don't
you're
know if
right.
he's gold right now or silver, but he could turn into like a super silver for somebody, or even a slide down to a bronze, and then you have a pro as a bronze. If you have a fully funded lineup, you could go race GTD with three fast guys. So yeah, I
That
don't
might
know
be
when he turns
cheating.
50, but well, it's not against the rules, I don't think. But yeah, so yeah, but yeah, I don't know what is going to happen to Andy. We saw him drive for Starcom a couple
True.
races this year in the TCR category. That team, if you keep up with what the happenings of racing, that car is for sale. So I don't think we'll see Starcom back next year. Unfortunately, just saw him for a couple races and they had one really good run. So hate to
That's
see
true.
that. But yeah, I saw several people sent me the link that that car is for sale. But yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure where Andy will go, but yeah, so certainly for being almost 50, still no slouch whatsoever. Very, very fast guy, Andy.
That he is indeed. That he is
He
indeed.
even loaned us a fire suit at the Road Atlanta test last year. He loaned Mark Wilkins a fire suit because Mark didn't have his suit in the truck, and he lives close to Road Atlanta. So good
Oh,
guy.
the story comes full circle. Coupons dude is going to be at Road Atlanta, maybe with coupons. So
How about you
it,
be there with a golf cart and drive Stu around? He doesn't want to get winded walking up and down the hills, coupon dude.
yes, we'll see. I don't know. I think I can survive. I survived walking the track at Road America, so I think
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see how you feel Saturday at 8 p.m. after
yeah,
4 days of walking it.
that's a good point. That's a good point. Actually, there's the what do they call it? Like the tram system at
Yeah, yeah,
uh
they
at
have it. Yeah.
at Road Atlanta. So
Just wait
maybe
till
I'll
you
be
see
able to.
the hill when you get into Road Atlanta, just to get to the top of 10, and you'll be like, "Oh yeah, there's not a. I'm not gonna walk this ever."
Okay, would you say is that have you been out to Moss Corner at
Yes,
CTMP? Is
yes.
it comparable to that?
It is of that elevation change that quickly, but
Okay.
double the height.
Oh, so it's just longer.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it's like if that's 4 stories of elevation, that's 8 stories of elevation at
that's
Road
tough.
Atlanta.
I might need one of those stair lifts. I think we
Yeah,
might
you know,
need
like
one of those
when
beside
you
the
take a golf
track.
cart up it, it's like your golf cart can barely make it. And then when you
Oh
take it
yeah,
down,
yeah.
it's like your brakes are gonna explode because you're going so fast. Yes, and there's no in between. Yeah,
I heard they okay, before we wrap up, the final thing.
we really
I heard
digress.
that I saw a post in I think the IMSA Reddit or or maybe it was on Facebook that they put in speed bumps around the track a bunch. So that would make for an uncomfortable ride if you were going downhill.
There's always been speed bumps around there. There might be a ton more now,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I don't know. I've never
there's
been.
always been some speed bumps down because there's one at the very bottom of anyway. Oh, I digress. Yes, there's been speed bumps there. Yes.
There we go. What okay. Fine actual final one and then we're gonna cut this
Is
off because
GT
it's been a
is GT Rain coming to Road Atlanta?
Yes, GT Rain will be there too, but he
Uh,
hasn't said that.
all
He
all of
hasn't said
all of Stu's podcasts will be at Road Atlanta. Yes.
that's true. That's true. We're all gonna be there. Also move your car towards the exit at the end of the race. If you're in the middle of the track at the end of Friday or Saturday, have fun.
That
Line
is
out after qualifying last year was
such
2 hours.
that is such good advice. We used to always move our car to 10B outside of 10B after the race. Cause yeah, if you're in six at the end of the race, like you just there's one road in and out and it's two
Mm,
lanes and it's yeah. Don't get to the racetrack late on race day either.
yeah.
I came a few years ago, I think 3 years ago, I came just to watch the race with
Oh no. He came to watch the race 2 years ago, and I don't know if we're gonna know the end of that story. I think we we may call it there. I think that we lost Aaron for the last time. I've heard this story from Aaron though, and it was a very long the too long version of it, or the condensed version of it, that's what I was looking for. Was it was a long time to get into the track. It's get there early, listen to Aaron's advice, and you're gonna have a much more enjoyable time. Oh no, we need. No, I think. What do we think? I think we got to wrap this up. I think we're gonna wrap this up. Let's see. We got one more coupons, dude. My son was at Road Atlanta for the last event. The speed bumps were no biggie, according to him. Find out next week. Indeed, you shall. Indeed, you shall. It should be a fun race week. I'll stall for another minute here. I'll tell you what I'm most looking forward to going to Road Atlanta for the first time. I'm looking forward to sitting in the Turn 10 complex up on the hill, in the seats on the hill, and being able to watch the race. Also looking forward to seeing the S's. The S's, probably, I don't know. In my eyes, the S's are kind of the iconic stretch of corners at the track. I know there's a lot of iconic corners around Road Atlanta, but looking forward to that. And yeah, just looking forward to being at one last IMSA race before the season all wraps up. There's going to be a lot of good storylines coming out of it that I'll be touching on more on the non support series side of things here in the lead up to the race. So hopefully you'll see those. We do have Aaron just in time.
Yeah, we were tempting fate too long.
Yeah, we overstayed our welcome, I think, with the streaming or with your internet. So yeah, that's the signal. But anything you want to say before we go?
No, just keep an eye on social. We will try to do something to get everybody together next week if we can. And please, if you're in other parts of the country, please really do pay attention to what happened in Western North Carolina. It's only 50 miles from my house, and it's truly probably the most devastating natural disaster to happen to the U.S. since Hurricane Katrina. If you can donate to Samaritan's Purse or Red Cross or anything like that, please consider doing it. It is really terrible what's happened to those people up there. So, yes, finger guns for you, Travis, for the end. We'll see you at Road Atlanta next week.
We will see you all later. I need to find the ending, and there we go.
Honestly, considering how my internet's been all day, that was